So at this point, we have established a connection to the robot with our tablet. And the next thing we need to do is start taking measurements, whether we're setting up the total station on a job site by shooting in control points, or whether we've already done that and we want to measure some things. We've got two options. We've got the Prism pole that we can use, and we've got the lasers that we can turn on. So the first thing I want to talk about is the Prism pole and how we make sure that the robot's seeing the prism so that it's got line of sight and it can take the measurements we need it to. So I'm still under the device and I'm still in settings. And what I want to do is go to the Prism button. And I've got a couple options here. I can go to the target type and I can change my prism to whatever style of prism that I'm using. If I need to change the height of rod or the instrument, the prism ID number, I can go into the input form button, which allows me to change from active to passive mode. Active's on, passive is off for the MT1000, and I can change my ID number from 1 through 8, which is determined by the dial on the MT1000. So in this instance, I've got a MT1000. The prism is on, it's on channel 1, and my rod height happens to be 6 feet. Okay, now I can change all that information here. I'm done changing it. I'll click out of the input form button. And so the next thing that I want to do is I want to point my robot in the general direction of the prism. Now the closer I get, the better, because when I perform a search, it's going to do a search window, and the less window that has to look in, the faster it's going to find that prism. So I've got my robot pointing in the general direction of the prism, and I'm going to go ahead, and this is my prism button here, and this is my search for the prism button. So I'm going to search for the prism, and what the robot is now doing is it's looking left, right, up, and down in a specific search window, trying to find that MT1000 that's on channel 1. And once it locks onto the target, you'll notice that the prism button stopped spinning. And now if I go and grab my prism pole and start moving it around, you'll notice that my horizontal angle and vertical angle now have data being fed to them. And that's a couple ways that I know that my prism is now being tracked by my robotic total station. So the next part of this is if I want to switch it over to laser mode. And switching to laser mode is as simple as clicking the prism button here, and when I click it, it will switch over to DR mode. And once in DR mode, of course you can't see it, but now my laser has turned on, and now if I move my robotic total station, my dimensions or my directions here are going to update based on the point that the laser sees. So now I could simply take a measurement with the prism or with the laser. Keep in mind, if I switch back to prism mode, then my prism icon is going to be spinning, which means it doesn't see it doesn't see the prism until I move that prism into the path of the robot, or the robot does a search and locks onto the prism itself.